that what we are seeing now is not a space race between the United States and other countries as to which nation will return to the moon or perhaps get to Mars, but a space race between Mr. Musk and Mr. Bezos.
I love Bernie Sanders so much. Oh my God, he's so correct. So, listen, I don't like talking about Elon Musk any more than you all like being reminded of his existence day in and day out. But unfortunately, he's kind of a headline act at the moment. So, in terms of real news, Elon Musk has been engaging in behavior that might actually void the buyout deal that he has running through with Twitter at the moment. Now, I am not an expert on business proceedings, but there have been numerous outlets, including, I think, Bloomberg, that have written on this, that he is violating a disparagement clause, or non-disparagement clause, which is pretty standard when you are buying a business. Basically, Elon Musk has been on Twitter disparaging Twitter employees, which is, well, you're not supposed to do that when you're buying a company. You know, there's a basic legal agreements that you sign when you're moving towards the acquisition of a company. I'm sure you can understand why businesses might want to ensure that people who are buying out the company not do this. But, well, I mean, we'll see if it leads to anything. It might not. There are there are three explanations to my mind. One is genuine incompetence, which maybe. The second is that he never expected the deal to go through and he's backing out or trying to find ways of backing out. This seems less likely to me. The third one is the one that I'm putting my money on, which is that he wants Twitter, but he's okay with not getting it because he is first and foremost interested in self-aggrandizing. This is all part of the cult-building attitude that he has. And if he gets the deal voided because of his behavior, he gets to a very large audience, scream and shout about how his drive to promote freedom of speech on Twitter got him canned in this unfair marketplace where oligarchs prevent him, poor Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, from single-handedly privately controlling one of the largest social media companies in the world. You know, basically, it's one of those... you get more of a social benefit from getting banned from the event than from attending type deals. Does that make any sense? This is a very common, like, grifter thing to do, where you'll feign interest in something and then deliberately mess it up, but then when your incompetence leads to the end of that arrangement, you blame them and you ride the wave of popularity that you get. We'll see if that goes through. But I really wanted to talk about Elon Musk's tweets, as substantive as they are, because with his prominence, we're seeing a return to, or at least a growth of, a kind of narrative that I've always taken issue with. The first video that I put out on this channel was The Problem with Radical Centrism. And it's a terrible video because it was literally the first piece of content that I ever made. And it's awful, and it's a video essay, and the microphone quality is awful, and just... It's an old video, but I agree with the sentiment of that video. And I thought I could reiterate a few points in response to some of the stuff that he said. So basically, a chief concern with regards to Elon Musk is that because he has a strong right-leaning political bias, which he does, he basically just reposts like funny tier conservative memes to Twitter, which is kind of alarming for the wealthiest man in the world. You know, he's not just some 16-year-old. He's a grown man and very powerful. But in response to this, the perception that he'll employ that bias to ban people he doesn't like, he has taken a very pro-free speech approach. Now, if I were to sit here and talk about all the ways that Elon Musk is actually anti-free speech, the ways that he's tried to silence his critics or union bust within his own companies, we could go on for a pretty long time. Elon Musk does not care about freedom of speech in a broad sense. You know, the idea that he's an advocate for people's right to express themselves freely. No, he's not. He's a business owner, and that comes first and foremost. But let's look at what we're looking at here. So right now, the line has been drawn, hasn't it? It's the line between the cancel culture, SJW, anti-free speech, woke scold, sensitive trans crybabies, and the renegade warrior, free speech loving, devil may care, not SJWs. That's kind of where the line feels like it is right now, at least perceptively. And Elon Musk has decidedly taken the latter stance. Right here, he is taking the pro-free speech stance. He's actually elaborated in some of these Twitter chains that he basically doesn't think that TOS should exist outside of enforcing actual legal guidelines. So, if anyone can find the tweet, because it's very stupid, he basically argues that a terms of service is undemocratic because if people really wanted something to be banned, they would vote in the law that would ban it. So having a terms of service that goes beyond the purview of the law is undemocratic. This is legitimately in line with the thinking of like a maybe 13-year-old in terms of like how long you've thought something out. It's not a joke. That's actually what he says here. I'm against censorship that goes far beyond the law. If people want less free speech, they will ask government to pass laws to that effect. So this is no understanding whatsoever of the difference between the government locking you up for things that you say or do and Twitter banning you for it. You know, like, and this is really common with conservatives who pretend to care about free speech, where they'll talk about the First Amendment as though it applies to Twitter TOS, and they will develop no distinction between being arrested and being banned from Twitter. You know, it's very, very dumb. It's so dumb. It's fractally dumb. Everything Elon Musk tweets is like, I am 14 and this is deep, or I am 14 and I understand politics. It's genuinely embarrassing, and he is a living testimony to the ineffectiveness of our purported meritocracy. In no meritocracy could a man this stupid rise to the top, but whatever. Anyway, moving on. Free speech. Why is it bad? Well, it's not. Free speech is good, actually. Let's read this image. I love reading images. Free speech is the bedrock of a functioning democracy, and Twitter is the digital town square where matters vital to the future of humanity are debated. This is true. By any fair definition of a town square, modern social media companies purview over it. I do agree with that. I also want to make Twitter better than ever by enhancing the product with new features, blah, 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 blah. And then he has his technical prescriptions here. Fine and dandy. So what's the issue with this? Well, the problem, first and foremost, is something called the chilling effect of free speech. So we've all heard of this before, but I will reiterate it very, very simply. So freedom of speech is meaningful only insofar as it can actually be enacted. It's actually possible to, without ever breaking the law, deter another person from expressing their own free speech. It's really simple. You just harass them. It's not difficult, actually. You do not have to look very far through human history to find examples of, with no laws being broken, the free speech of individuals being compromised by the behavior of others. So a classic example of this, of course, would be hooded gentlemen waiting by voting booths in the Deep South during the Jim Crow era. Or they don't even need to be wearing hoods, of course. You can just have some good old white boys or some cops down there. And if you look through the history of the Jim Crow South, there are plenty of examples, recorded examples of black people being kept from voting, not because anyone broke the law, but because of the, you know, the implication. If you want to silence people on social media, you can harass them off it. The Gamergate days were just replete with examples of small left-leaning feminist YouTube channels getting bullied off the platform because massive channels like Sargon of Akkad would make video after video harassing them and implicitly encouraging their fans to go and dogpile them. And of course, Sargon of Akkad would... Well, I was about to say Sargon of Akkad wouldn't actually say to go and harass them, but actually, of course, he did do that. But, you know, the worst excesses were always committed stochastically, you know. You wouldn't say something like, yeah, go and dox this person, but some of your fans would go and dox that person. So social media companies, understanding this, recognize two things. First of all, that your ability to speak freely in any public square is going to be limited by the extent to which you face harassment for doing so. And second of all, that people have a better user experience when they're not constantly under threat of being attacked by marauding gangs of people who violate what is now the terms of service of Twitter, but might not be in a couple of months. Does everyone understand what I'm saying here? Essentially, in order to protect free expression on an app like Twitter, you have to understand that there are some types of behavior which exist not to promote free speech, but rather to silence it in others. And that line, when you're trying to abate other people's free expression, does not overlap with the line of what is or isn't legal. It's quite far away from it, actually. We have some retweets, NASA, blah, blah, blah. The extreme antibody reaction from those who fear free speech says it all. 1.6 million likes. That's pretty clear what's happening here, right? People take issue with Elon Musk, the dopey idiot who fucks up everything that he speaks on. But it's because they hate free speech. Well, here's the thing. What Elon Musk means when he says, free speech, we don't think that censorship should go beyond the law or whatever. What he's really saying here is that he doesn't think that being harassed should be a violation of Twitter TOS, right? I mean, that's actually what we're talking about here. The real question is, Elon Musk, are you going to make it so people don't get banned for harassing or saying racial or whatever slurs or stuff like that? And the implicit answer would be yes. The actual practical meaning of his speech is, we will make it easier to attack people and easier to attack people for, their race or gender or whatever. But we're going to frame it as a free speech issue. Now, keep in mind, I do not actually think there's anything wrong in principle with taking the Elon Musk side of that discussion. For example, if Twitter terms of service made it so it was a bannable offense to say retard, I would think that was bad. Even though you could make a fair argument that doing so is an effort to mitigate harassment and therefore promote free expression, I think that would go far enough and would be devoid enough of context that it would not just promote free expression, but would honestly, essentially, I think the downsides would be greater than the upsides by a pretty wide margin. Hell, you can say slurs on Twitter. It's mostly the harassing people that'll get you banned, You understand? The issue that I have here isn't the position Elon Musk is taking. If he was straightforward and said, yeah, I don't think there's any way for social media companies to fairly promote and enforce the terms of service because it's always going to be determined largely by who gets mass reported, and that's a numbers game more so than it is an actual effective and fair way of assessing the context of an interaction, that is a fair statement to make. You agree with that, right? I don't know if I agree with it, but it's at least a reasoned position to take. It's a fair and meaningful and thoughtful stance to take on a difficult issue. But he's not taking that stance. He's obfuscating it with this stupid, oh, you all just hate the idea of free speech BS. You understand? It's dishonest. I hate the dishonesty because this whole, I'm just promoting free speech BS can be used to promote basically any kind of horrible harassment or speech. Like, this is what neo-Nazis talk about. Have you guys ever noticed that every time like a Nazi alternate social media website crops up, it's a free speech website? Now, explicitly, the only reason these sites exist is because these people want like places to scream about the N-word and like Jews and what have you without getting banned for doing so. So it's not really about free speech, because you can get banned there for plenty of stuff. It's like how Gab was pro-free speech, but then they banned like all porn on their platform and like all leftists and stuff. It's not free speech. They just want to be racist. If Elon Musk was consistent and honest, I wouldn't take issue with it. But moving on. A lot of space stuff here. Very good. Love to see the hard work, the fruit born of actual engineers who work under Elon Musk and probably aren't paid enough. Here's Elon Musk bafflingly promoting a competitor to the website that he's trying to buy for $44 billion. Truth Social is currently beating Twitter and TikTok on the Apple Store because apparently Elon Musk doesn't understand how the top charts work on the Apple Store, and this doesn't refer to raw downloads, but rather just like proportional increases over a given length of time and Twitter's been around for like over a decade, and Truth Social is really new. So of course there would be like waiting in which would be shown here. And then for some reason he's like promoting his opposition, but okay. And then we have a shout out to Tim Pool. I bet he's feeling really good about that. Actually, I know that he is, because in the comments here he's asking Elon Musk to go on a show. So that's cool. Which I don't think he will, by the way, because I don't think Elon Musk has any interest outside self-aggrandizement. This is, of course, a dishonest representation of the conversation that was held here, but what are you going to do? For Twitter to deserve public trust, it must be politically neutral, which effectively means upsetting the far right and the far left equally. So this is why I talked about enlightened centrism earlier. What is far right and far left is... Oh, here's a wonderful meme. What is far right and far left is really contextually determined, and depending on who's drawing that line, you can be drawing an equivocation between... Those are the funniest people on the site, though. As Shuathead points out sagely, that the far right and the far left are the funniest people on the site, which is incorrect, actually. The funniest people on the site are Hillary Clinton liberals, when they're being made fun of by the far right and the far left. It's a balancing act, you see. It's a predator and prey situation. You need vast fields of grazing sheep for the wolves of political radicalism to jump in and make fun of them for. And that's the dichotomy right there. Now, of course, depending on who's drawing this line, you know, right now with the political situation in America, we have people who like Elon Musk thinking that Joe Biden is radical left and Donald Trump speaks for the majority of Americans. In an environment like this, trying to draw this line, it's just meaningless. It also, by the way, is inherently politically vacuous because it has nothing to do with the actual positions on hold. Will the far left and the far right change depending on what your country you're in? Like, would TOS change if you were setting this up in, like, Saudi Arabia, where the far left and the far right are probably both way to the right of where they are here in the States? It's like, well, in order for Twitter to be functional in Saudi Arabia, we need a balance between people who want to behead all women and people who simply want to cut their hands off when they're found to have committed adultery. Maybe? But it doesn't seem like a very principled stance to me. The real issue here is this, and there's no getting around it. For somebody who claims to be like a tech bro, Elon Musk has been incredibly vague about what actual changes he wants to make to Twitter. This is something that he apparently cares enough about to throw $44 billion at it, but not enough to, like, do a press release where he talks about in specific what changes he wants to make. Is he holding off on it till after the acquisition? Will the acquisition fall through because of a violation of any non-disparagement clauses that he may have engaged in stupidly or intentionally on Twitter? I genuinely don't know, but I think anyone who likes Elon Musk should be asking that. If Elon Musk is in favor of transparency and technical solutions to difficult problems, why has everything he said on the subject not gotten any more complicated than what you could fit in a 240-character tweet? Isn't that a bit strange? I just know that if I was going to spend $44 billion to acquire a social media company, I would be, like, very, very, very pointed with the changes that I wanted to make, because it's, you know, it's a bit of an investment. It's almost as much as my channel has made over the entirety of 2022 so far. It's not a small amount of money. Why is the left so triggered by this? Who's triggered? Most of the big posts that I see from the left, like the proper left, are shit posts. The people who are angry are liberals. But I think everyone has a right to be angry. Elon Musk is an almost holistically bad person. Every time he opens his mouth to say something, he says something stupid. This is the guy who bragged about producing shatterproof glass and then immediately disintegrated the Cybertruck window right behind him. He really does seem to be sort of like a moron who's failed upwards. Everything he hypes up falls to dust in his hands. He's just... His political positions are at the same time reprehensible and, like, pitiable. But like a 13-year-old neo-Nazi with cerebral palsy who you know would die in their preferred system, but it feels bad to tell them that. Like, he's just bad in every way. And people who like him should probably, like, find another surrogate father figure. I do not know. People are, yeah. No, I agree, Shu. I don't think many substantive changes are going to happen, though there might be a couple of high-profile unbans. Um, the issue that I have isn't really with Twitter or with him. It's just his fans. My God, he's popular. Elon Musk is so popular. And for what? He's not an engineer. He's not a scientist or a technician. That work is done by people underneath him. He buys companies that already existed, takes advantage of subsidies. He's a hype man. There's nothing wrong with being a hype man, but people treat him like he's the one flying the rockets into space. And a lot of the stuff that he hypes up ends up failing anyway. Also, by the way, he is meaningfully detracting from the investment in public infrastructure. Like, Elon Musk is single-handedly, right now, the person most responsible for public interest being diverted from proper investment in civic infrastructure and replacements for car dependency. With his, what if we just spent 10 times the normal amount of money that it would take to build an extra highway lane, doing the same thing but underground? You know, like what if we made a new lane, except we did it underground? I mean, just a couple days ago, he was tweeting about how there's no way weather conditions can affect tunnels. He was saying the solution to traffic in London was tunnels. London. The city of London. That was his thing. London has incredibly bad traffic, and he looked at a tweet that was pointing that out, and he said, tunnels, anyone? In London. The underground of London is like a beehive. You can't fit more tunnels down there. I really do. I really do dislike him. I need to get more Elon Musk fans in here to yell at him. Yeah, the Neuralink shit. As far as I can tell, like, the Neuralink technology that it keeps hyping up is, like, literally science fiction at the moment. Like, not only is it not sufficiently developed, but the technology that would require cognitive, like, UI interaction with a Neuralink is not a thing. Like, it's not just like maybe we could get a breakthrough. It would be like him saying, yeah, dude, I'm gonna like invent the warp drive, and then like a bunch of Redditors like cream their pants as he sets aside like 2 million and like 7 graduate students, and he's like, yeah, here, just get me something for the gram in like 6 months, okay? And then they killed like a dozen monkeys somehow. Threw them into the prototype black hole. Yeah. Never underestimate the masculine urge to dig a tunnel. Don't forget, okay, what about the masculine urge to build a tower, all right? What about the good ones? There's just so much hypocrisy. Like, you know how the right is always talking about, like, how liberal bugmen want everyone to live in, like, the, like, city house pods where, like, 500 people live in 100 square feet or something? Like, there's the idea of like the urbanite, like, you know, like fake human who wants to eat bugs and everything. Elon Musk is literally like that guy personified, but they love him. Like, Elon Musk is every joke they make about liberals in a person when it comes to this inhuman, like, science fetishist. He's not even a good transhumanist, Shu, because a good transhumanist should be somebody who wants to elevate the potential for humans to do what they want to achieve, right? Like, that's a good kind of transhumanism. But for Elon Musk, it's just like, what if he could beam advertisements directly into our brain? What if everyone spent like 40 minutes of commute every day in a dark underground tunnel that's lit up by fucking gamer lighting and has no fire escape exits, you know? Like, it was like everything he did. Like, what if everyone just lived in their car? Have you seen people talk about electric cars and how they think that one of the advancements that could be made as a product of their introduction is people being able to work while in their car? I will kill you, op-ed writer. I will find you. No, absolutely not. No. There's a webcomic on this where it's like people develop a medicine that you take and you no longer need to sleep. You no longer need to sleep at all. And what this leads to is like the 16-hour workday. And like, yeah, of course, you know, this is what I think of when I think bugmen, you know. It's not like liberals who live in San Francisco. It's corporate executives paying PR men millions of dollars to find ways to hype up the gig economy to like suicidal Zoomers. You know, that's what I think of. Like, these reptilian fucks, like people talk about the gig economy and all the freedom it offers people with their jobs, and of course it doesn't. You know, well, we all know that, but you know, it goes further than that. It's like every bit of convenience in your life they want to wring out of you. Like they want to make everything efficient. It's like crypto. Like you can't just play a video game to have fun. You have to play a video game to earn crypto. You have to be on your grind set always, always, always. But who's really on their grind set? The person who works every minute of their waking life, earning a fraction of what others earn off of them? Or is the real grind set the person who works as little time as they need to make ends meet and keep their civilization packed together, and spends the rest of their free time pursuing personal interests and hobbies? That's the real grind set. That's the real Sigma grind set right there. As if anyone who sincerely Sigma would waste their life grinding away in the gig economy, you know? And Elon Musk wants that for all of you. This is not a joke. I need to find this article. Just a couple of days ago, it's like every single week he does something that deserves like a trial at The Hague. Hold on. When I saw this, I thought it was a joke. Oh, this isn't that recent. This is actually from a year ago, so I only just saw it a couple of days ago. He proposed, and I'm not joking, actual indentured servitude. For people going to Mars, of course. Everyone line up with your soy faces. Okay? In a Twitter thread, Musk was asked what criteria the 100,000 Mars be selected, to which he responded, needs to be such that everyone can go if they want, with loans available for those if they don't have money. When asked what that meant for people, if they'd be required to work off the loans, he said, yes, there will be a lot of jobs on Mars. So, explicitly, how will people get to Mars? They can take out loans. How will they work off those loans? There's work on Mars. It's indentured servitude. Also, is this Bad Bunny? That's the picture, but it's not the same. Okay. Rebrand? Okay. Whatever. She rebranded? Okay. Well, cool. Make the interest of your slave forever. Just, you guys remember the game Outer Worlds by Obsidian? And it's like, hey, this is an outer space colony where people go to mine, and they're all indentured servants, and they work off their debt in the mines. And it was like a satire. It's like Elon Musk is so bad that genres have been created to instill in humans an innate repulsion to everything that he represents. And then he does those things. Like, it's not just that he does bad things. It's that he does the things that the supervillains do in the media that defines the genre where he's the supervillain. Every cyberpunk story has him at its end. Every time. Elon Musk is the villain of every cyberpunk story. You want to talk about, like, Alien? Who do you think leads Wayland Yutani? What, you think that it's like some other thing? No, it's Elon Musk. Every time. It's always these people. Yeah, Jurassic Park, it's just every story already being based out of this. I'm just like despair rambling at this point. It's just, it's like we're hurtling, it's like we're on a train hurtling towards like a brick wall and it's 50 miles away and I'm screaming stop, but I know it's not going to stop. We're able to send, oh, hold on.
That what we are seeing now is not a space race between the United States and other countries as to which nation will return to the moon or perhaps get to Mars, but a space race between Mr. Musk and Mr. Bezos.
Oh my God, he's so fucking based. I love Bernie Sanders so much. Oh my God, he's so correct.
The two wealthiest people in America as to who will gain control over NASA and future space explorations. In other words, if we are able to accomplish the unbelievable, extraordinary goal of sending a person to Mars, I want the flag that will be flying on that planet to be the flag of the United States of America, not the flag of SpaceX or Blue Origin.
So fucking based. So goddamn based. I worked for Elon directly for 18 and a half years, and I can assure you, you are wrong. What kind of response is this? What? What is wrong about what? What empirical claim do you disagree with? He was saying what he wanted. What do you mean? What do you, like NPC response? Like just NPC, like no thought, just like must defend Elon. Why not just this flag? That's fine. Get the Kerbal flag up there. In Apollo, Boeing built the first stage, the second stage by North American Aviation, the third by Douglas, the LM by Grumman, the CSM by North America. For 50 years, you and your party have underfunded space. If you don't want them there first, increase NASA budget by $40 billion a year. What? What? Aren't the Republicans more anti-NASA than Democrats? Also, Bernie Sanders was an independent in the Senate for like 1 billion years. Also, I'm pretty sure that Bernie Sanders would be totally in favor of upping the NASA budget. Still, yeah, sorry, still, no, my bad, because he's associated with the Dems now, yeah, but, yeah, no, he's, like, he has, yeah, just caucuses with them, yeah. Okay. You do realize NASA always uses contractors, right? He's not arguing against contractors. Of course they use contractors here. He's talking about the capture of the entire, like, United States space industry by private corporations. We're not talking about NASA using SpaceX as like a contractor to build parts. It's about owning space. It's oh no, we have to stop. I hate Elon Musk. I legitimately believe that like in the long run, Elon Musk poses more of a threat to like the well-being of humanity than basically any other person alive. More so than Putin, Trump, any of this. Like, I actually think he's actually at the moment the main villain of humanity. I mean, like, if you look at this in retrospect, I mean, he's the monorail guy from The Simpsons if he kept winning, and 20 years later he was the wealthiest man on earth, and he had the ear of, like, nation states and presidential leaders. Yeah, I don't know. This is a stretch, but okay. No, I don't think it's a stretch at all. Not even remotely. Even if Elon Musk wasn't himself a conservative who promotes conservative populism, I would believe this. But the fact that he is as well is like super duper. Worse than oil executives? Yeah, I'd say so. Because oil executives as individuals are part of a broader system that's reinforced from a bunch of different directions to maintain the hegemony of the oil and the coal and the gas industries. Elon Musk as an individual, like singly, as a one guy, like, he's not replaceable the way they are. Like, oil executives come and go. It's the system built around them. Elon Musk himself isn't a system. There's something specific about him and his social power that at least not replaceable. Anyway, moving along. Stop